Hey guys, thank you so much and welcome to the Game Your Future podcast. I'm Daniel and I'm joined with a special guest today, Violet Detre, who is a Christian business coach helping female entrepreneurs, leaders creating their own coaching business so that they can help them earn an income and create impact for others. So Violet, thank you so much and welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Daniel, for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. And so tell us a little bit more about I guess Christian business coaching and what all that means to you and how you're helping.
Well, personally, I was trying to figure out my whole life, as we were talking earlier in the green room, what my purpose is. And then I figured out, hey, I can be happy without purpose. But then as I started trying to create income myself, coming out of health issues and different things, I saw, wow, my heart right now is to help other Christian women to have time flexibility if they're tired of their 9 to 5, and those that are called. They feel called to help others using their transformation story, their skills, their experiences, because there's people crying out there that have a problem that you've already solved, that you already know how to solve. So for me, I want to help those women to be able to get themselves out there so that they can create impact and make a difference in other people's lives while earning an income. So starting their own online Christian coaching business.
That's awesome. Fantastic. And I noticed you also mentioned you're a happiness advocate, right? And so and I know everybody wants to be more happy, wants to have more joy in their lives. So tell me, what is a happiness advocate and how does that play into all this?
So my story started from a little more than 10 years ago when my husband heard something in his spirit saying, you got to get home on time after work. So when he got home, he found me on our living room floor. I was unconscious. When he felt me, he said I was cold and my skin was gray. And what had happened is that I had got tired of all the pain, trying to figure out what am I supposed to do in this life, suffering with health issues and feeling like I was a burden to everybody because I could barely function. That I was like, forget it. I just want to not exist anymore here. I'd rather be in heaven. And I thought that was a shortcut to the good part. But thankfully, my husband, he listened to that little voice and he got home, found me just in time. They rushed me to the ER and they brought me back to life. So all those things were still there. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do now? I hate my life. I hate myself. I hate that I'm not successful, even though growing up I was a gifted and talented student. And my teachers would say, you're the cream of the crop. You're going to be a leader, have a corporate job, make a lot of money, and all this. And it wasn't happening for me. So all these promises that people said about my life and my future, they weren't happening. And I had to figure out, well, what am I going to do now? And I just started exploring different things, trying out different things. And then I started feeling this interesting feeling. I was like, wow, that feels good. What is that? Oh my gosh, I'm feeling happy. Trying out, experimenting, having adventures, doing new things. And I want more of this. This is the life I want to live, having more of this feeling. And then, sometimes in the church, well-meaning people try to tell you things to help you live better, but it's not really the truth. So my friends used to tell me, God wants you holy, not happy. And I'm like,
Hmm.
what Bible are you reading? Excuse me, because that's totally the opposite of what God's been showing me in his word. Even it says the fruit of the spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control. It's the second word right there. So I'm like, I don't know where you guys got this from. It's totally false. I'm an advocate for happiness because that's one of the things that completely broke me free from suicidal depression. I no longer take prescription antidepressants over 10 years. I love my life. I'm a new woman and just the power of being happy and joy.
That's amazing. I love that story. It's so powerful. Just living into that happiness now and just living into the joy is just huge. And I think more of us want that, right? Is to be able to live in this kind of joy all the time, right? And just be happy with their life because there's so much, right? There's so much outside pressure. There's all this, whether it's, school, whether it's job, whether it's the news, there's just a lot of negativity or a lot of pressure. So getting that level of joy and happiness is just fantastic. And so one of the things I think that the listeners would love to know is that how can they get more of that happiness? How can they get more of that joy for themselves in their daily lives?
Well, first of all, you've got to be okay with being happy. Don't feel guilty that you're having fun. Don't feel guilty, that you have things that make you happy, like your children, your husband, doing gaming, that brings people happiness. All those wins. That's one of the things that I encourage people to do is celebrate your wins. So whether you celebrate your wins when you're gaming or when you're at work, that truly can help you. Remembering the good times and patting yourself on the back, those are all good things. But you've got to give yourself permission to be happy.
So that's first, is you have to have permission to be happy. And then you touched on something I think really powerful and important is that is celebrating the wins, right? And this is something I've heard before too from other coaches or mentors that says, there's something inherently there's like psychological, I think, as far as like, that level of, confidence building, that level of joy building from celebrating the little wins. And I think from the gaming perspective, it's inherently built into the games, right? The whole, yeah, and we talk about like gamification, right, in the business world too, but like games themselves celebrate the wins constantly. That's one of the ways that makes games really fun and engaging, right? Is that you level up, you beat a boss or whatever it is, that there's all the victory fanfare that goes with that. And it's built into the game. So we don't as gamers necessarily think about that. So I'm curious, like, yeah, so you had a few examples. I would love to hear more about like how can we celebrate wins outside of games, right? Because games is just so easy because it's automatic. But then when we get out of the games, it's like, okay, I don't know how to celebrate the little things. How do I do that?
And I love that word gamification. And it's like, how do you gamify your life? How do you make things in life fun? How do you reframe something and say, hey, I'm just experimenting. I'm still learning, but specifically about celebrating your wins, it could be a small win. I have a Facebook group and I encourage people, hey, if you opened your eyes this morning, that's a win. If you smiled at somebody else, that's a win. If you got to work on time, that's a win. If you got there late but you made it, that's a win. you know so just noticing those little things throughout the day. And some people believe that pride is bad, but being proud of yourself is different than having that ego pride that keeps you from success. So patting yourself on the back. I know I refer to biblical scriptures a lot because there's a lot of truth in this historical book. And it says that David encouraged himself in the Lord. He had to find ways to encourage himself. And
Mhm.
if you read on there, he's like up and down and up and down. But at the end, he reminds himself, hey, and I love something else that the lady that has the 5 4 3 2 1 rule, I forgot her name,
I don't
but
recognize that one.
yeah, something with an M. But I love that she says to remind yourself, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved throughout the day. And so there's just so many ways throughout the day that you can notice little things and celebrate. Just celebrate with yourself, celebrate with others. When you include others in things, that increases those happy hormones that we have. We have 5 of those, and I know gamifying things touches on that dopamine one that could really bring you happiness.
Absolutely. Is there any specific gamified version of that or gamified system that you use for some of these little wins?
Um, well, gratitude is a huge thing to do, and I couldn't do it because to me, I thought my life was so bad. I was like, why am I going to be grateful to wake up in the morning? But I didn't notice that doing the opposite, like being grateful is what can bring you into happiness. And working on those happy muscles, strengthening those happy muscles, stacking those joyful moments can just bring you a better life altogether. So when you're
Yeah.
grateful for your family, grateful, I'm not a total fan of coffee because, uh, I'm not totally convinced that it's healthy for you. But hey, when you grab that cup of coffee, when you grab that tea, I love tea, herbal teas and things like that. Hey, be grateful for that cup of coffee. Be grateful for that tea. Be grateful for that vehicle. Be grateful that you have a job to go to, because there's so many people out there that right now they're unemployed, they're lost, they're trying to figure out, hey, what am I supposed to be doing? And they don't have that. So especially here in the United States, we are so blessed. We have so many blessings and freedoms that other people died for us to have. So being grateful for all of that can really help you and put you in the right position.
I love that. Just being grateful. Yeah, gratitude is huge. And those listening, I would definitely do that. Practice gratitude because there was so much powerful. And one of the things I wanted to touch on that you mentioned that I loved is the stacking that you mentioned, as far as like stacking all these good things, right? So when you're grateful, it's like, all right, I'm grateful for, whether it's my health, my job, my, have a roof over my head, right? Just all these little things, and you can stack them, and it kind of multiplies that power of and gives you more joy as a result.
And
And,
speaking of roofs over your head,
uh-huh.
sometimes, and don't do this, it's better to be proactive rather than waiting until you lose something to be like, oh man, I can't believe I had that and now I lost it. Be grateful from the start. So when we used to live in Florida, there was we had a lot of hurricane seasons, and there was one time where we had to evacuate and go all the way to Georgia. We traveled all the way up there, so we were thankful that there was a bathroom on the way up there. And then when we got up there, we lost electricity, and how are we going to bathe, how are we going to wash ourselves, you know so all those little things, like you said, we take them for granted but don't. And
Yeah.
another thing is to don't wait until you're in the moment to be like, okay, what am I going to be grateful for? How can I get in a positive mood? Make a list, make a grateful list. Or this lady, she gave me a tip. She said, get popsicle sticks and write down things that bring you joy, or write down things that you're grateful for. And we did this through the pandemic. I put a little picture of my little baby nephew with his eyes crossed, sticking his tongue out, you know, so that
Nice.
whenever I felt like in a funk, that 3 o'clock slump, then I could go there and say, I'm so grateful for this cute little kid. And he just got me in a happier state. And from then on, I had a bright, happy day.
Oh, that's so good. Because I think it's so powerful to have that level of stacking, like you're saying. And I think one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that stacking works the other way too, right?
Yeah.
When you are sad, when you are depressed, when you're just in that funk, like you're saying, and you think about all the things that can go wrong or that have gone wrong. And what we don't realize is that we're stacking the bad too, right? And
Mhm.
it just creates that cycle. And I think that's why there's a lot of people that probably hang in that cycle of depression because they can't get out because they've continually stacked all this negativity.
Yeah.
So,
And our brains sometimes have a bias because we want to find a solution for things that are not perfect.
yep.
So we have a perfect creator, so we notice things that are not perfect. But also remember to find those things that are good, those things that you can celebrate, those things that are just wonderful and beautiful. And, it was super interesting to me, and I didn't realize how simple and powerful this was, how we can change our state in 1 second. Because my husband and I were on our daily walk, getting some sun, which also helps, having joy, getting fresh air. And so we were on our daily walk, getting exercise, moving, that helps a lot too. And for some reason, my husband said something. I was really upset at him, you know. So I'm like, in this state of don't talk to me, don't touch me. I can't believe that, you did this to me. And then I saw this beautiful plant and the leaves just popped and the color of the flower popped. And I said, "Oh, honey, look at this wonderful." I'm like, "Hello, wasn't I just like get away from me?" Now I'm wanting to enjoy this beautiful, wonderful thing. So, snapping out of it, snapping out of when you start spiraling into a cycle like that and you're stacking the negative or unresourceful, hey, how can I shut that cycle, snap back into a positive, gamified mindset?
That's great. And do you have any, I guess, tips or I guess a system, any strategy for that, right? Because I think there are people that might be feeling that stacking of depression. They're like, I would love to stack the positive things, or I would love to get out of my funk or whatever. And it's like, all right, how do I turn that? Like, what do I, how do I stop being depressed, right?
Well, first, like I said, be proactive. So people recommend that the night before you do your grateful list. Write down 3 things you were grateful for. And also, one of the things that really helped me was to set an alarm. So right at 3 o'clock, for some reason, that's when I would start getting in a slump, feeling all this like, oh, I'm tired. When you entertain those negative thoughts, then you start feeling it even more. And like you said, started stacking those negative things. And oh, I'm not finished with my to-do list. But my alarm with the Minion song, which would be pa pa da pa 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 pa, ita la papaya. It would snap me out of that. And I would that's when I would ask myself, Violet, what have you done today that brought you joy? And I would remember, oh man, I need to take a break. Oh wow, I need to, reflect on my loved ones, or even take a little break and play a game. Some of those tools that you already have, implement them at that time and take a little tea break. Get a little snack. That's one way to snap out of it.
Gotcha. Oh, that's fantastic. So, what would you say as far as I think one of the gamer side of things is since we love playing games so much, maybe we do it too much sometimes. And is there, I guess, what's the point at which you say like, I want to stay happy and joyful all the time, and at the same time, I do need to still get work done. How do we balance that to say like, okay, I gotta do the work, whether it's like you said, you're coaching, like you're trying to start a business, right? You're helping people start their own coaching business, but you also want to have a joyful life because starting your own business is stressful, right? So like, how do you balance the two?
Well, that's interesting because we've got to notice what we say. How do you label something? If we call it stressful, if we call it fun, you're right.
Ah,
So what I like to do is instead of going to work, I'm going to go play and just say, how can I approach this in a playful way? And, at first my husband would get on my case when he was trying to teach me how to drive stick, um, how to do that manual thing. It's like, why are you playing around and laughing? You need to be serious and listen to me. I'm like, when you approach something, like the Bible says, be as a child. When you're playful and open and you want to experiment and try new things, it's like, hey, and also, like, I know we talked about this before, knowing that no matter what, it's going to be okay. Like, God is my safety net. Romans 8:28 says that everything works together for good. So whatever you do, you can't mess it up so bad that God can't fix it in the end. So just go in there, do your best. If it doesn't work, remember you can adjust, you can change different things, you can try something else. And not that I loved getting wrong answers, like especially when I would do math, but it would really help me when I would get something wrong and somebody would point that out to me because I could do it differently. after that, it's like, oh, that's not the right way. So now I know what is the right way. So the next time I approach this, then there I get my A.
Exactly. And that's what, and I've told, I'll say as many times as it takes for the gamers is that we should use gaming as a learning experience for failure. Because when we fail, I guess in games, it doesn't matter. You just, continue, reload, reset, whatever you want to do, and you try again. And you take that knowledge with you to say, like, oh, this is what happened. This is how I can do it better. Exactly what you're saying. It's just so strange that sometimes we get out into the rest of our lives and the rest of the world and we forget that. And we're like, oh, you can't fail. Like, especially I think corporate kind of culture, right? It's like, you can't fail. You have to be perfect. And it's like, well, no, like nobody starts perfect. Nobody is perfect,
Do
right?
you expect a newborn baby to come out running?
Yeah, I
And
love I love that analogy because
when they're crawling, do you tell them, hey man, you failed. You're not a runner. You're out of here.
yeah. Be like, well, you're 4 months old. You're never gonna walk. I'm sorry. And you're like, you're not a
You
walker.
failed too many times. You're out.
Yeah. It's like, no, we don't do that. We do the opposite. We encourage the child. Like, no, you can keep trying, you'll get it.
Exactly.
And then we
We
get to
need
a
to do
certain
that
age,
for
and then
ourselves.
yeah, and then why is it we get to a certain age, and then suddenly we stop getting that encouragement, or just and people are like, oh no, you failed, and you're like, what happened? Like you were just encouraging me, like. So I think we need to take that. Sometimes we have to take that on upon ourselves, like you're saying, like live into that joy to say. I love what you said as far as the labeling, because the labeling is huge. It's like whether you what is it a certain version of that same phrase was I think it was Henry Ford, right? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
You're right.
So same
Yeah,
thing. So
something else that I love, I remembered her name, Mel Robbins says
Mel Robbins, okay,
every time she sees her reflection in the mirror or a window, she high fives herself.
that's awesome.
How's that for happiness stacking?
Oh, that's fun. So you just, yeah. So it's just these little things that I think that it's the little things that are the big things, right? It's just having these little stacking things. It's not, and I think a lot of people are looking for that kind of, the big change, the big magic bullet, whatever it is. And would you agree? It seems to be like it's more of these small little shifts. It's this little stacking, like we said. It's like it can be big if you have enough of the small things.
Yeah, these things are so simple, but like you said, as we grow up, we get like into people pleasing mode or into perfectionism, and that that could actually be stopping us, or even procrastination. Some of that comes from getting into that fight or flight mode. But gamifying it, playing, you know, being in joy and happiness and reframing things is the opposite. It gets you into a more creative mood, a more experimental mood, and it gets you more calm and more even confident in yourself to try new things. And so it makes a big difference.
Wow. That is, yep. I love that because it's to me, it's exactly that. It's the little things that we just do that stack on each other that create these big wins that we're looking for, right? That you hear some of these, I love the analogy of like, the overnight success, right? Like, oh man, this guy, this whatever, this, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's, like coaches and stuff, it's like, wow, they're just making a whole ton of money. They're just this overnight success. And then you go back and look, and the people that actually like dig into it, they're like, oh yeah, but it took them 8 years to be an overnight success. It's like, yeah, that there was a certain point where they might have popped off, but there was so much groundwork that they had to do ahead of that. And being able to do that for whatever it is for like probably multiple years until you get to that point where it really takes off. And it's like, how do you do that? Like, how do you just continue? And I think if you're not having fun, if you're not living in joy while you're doing it, you're not going to continue, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I guess the only other questions that, gosh, and we could talk for hours on this. So I do want to be respectful of time. So, is there anything that we've missed? Is there anything that we could say, like, as far as, how we can live into joy, or living into joy more often? What have we missed? Is there anything else?
What we think, what we tell ourselves, we've, again, like we touched on before, how we label things. Those are super, super huge. So just remembering that we have it in us. We have five happy hormones. It's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, norepinephrine, and GABA. So, you know that you have it in you. You just have to activate it. And even if you haven't tried this before, do it a little bit at a time, like you said. When you start lifting weights, you got to start small and then stack it. Exercise those joy muscles, and they'll start working for you.
But that's really powerful too, because that's I like the weight analogy, and it's the same with the games, right? You don't start on level 10, you start at level 1.
Right.
So don't get discouraged if it's not like huge amounts of change immediately, because it does take those little steps. You have to kind of go, you have to go through the tutorial level, right? Level 1, and then you get to level 10, and then it funny enough, it stacks upon itself your experience in playing the game. So it's the same way for practicing this kind of gratitude and joy, to say like, yeah, you can do it, and it just takes a little bit of practice.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
Have
huge.
grace with yourself.
Fantastic. So Violet, one of the other questions I have is just, I mean, awesome what you're doing. Where can we learn more? Like if we wanted to dig in more, as far as for those interested, like I said, in what you're doing, the starting a business for those entrepreneurs, or if we want to learn more about happiness, where can we find you and learn more?
So my website is violetdetre.com. And you can also reach out to me on Instagram at violet_Detre.
Awesome. And we'll have the links for you guys that in the description, so you can check those out. Oh gosh. So Violet, this has been so much fun, so interesting. And I did have one more question before you go. And that is, what is your favorite video game?
My favorite video game. Wow. It's been a while since I've played a real video game. My husband just started playing this Uno version online, and they
Mhm.
throw tomatoes and eggs at each other. It's kind of funny.
That's crazy.
But Pac-Man and Galactica, I think, were my favorite.
Oh, yep. I love Gallica. There we go. Yeah, if I can say it
Is that
right
what
too.
it was called?
Yeah, that was, yep.
I also like Street Fighter too, though.
Nice.
I wasn't very proficient at it, but I just pressed all the buttons. But
Good old button mashing. Yep. Gotta have fun with it.
yeah.
I haven't played Street Fighter in a minute
But
either. That's good.
when you asked me though, that on the questionnaire,
Hmm.
my favorite game that we play, because my family, when we get together with my mom and my dad and my brother who's here in Laredo, my little sister's still in Illinois. We need to get her over here to Texas. But it's called Truth Be Told,
Truth be
and we just
told, I have not
learn
heard of that. What is
so
that?
much. Yeah, we learn so much about each other. And it's gamified, but it also brings the family together. And it's just stuff that you would have never found out otherwise unless you play that game and answer those questions. And we laugh, and it's just so fun.
Okay, so truth be told, I have to look that one up. That's really cool.
There was also one that was like an ego flex, like celebrate yourself flex, which I wanted to buy and I'm still looking into, but it's like, yeah, why can't we say we're so awesome, and flex that?
Yeah,
People may look
and I
down on
love
that
what you said
sometimes.
earlier too about, like, I understand, like, we don't want to be too like prideful, but we still need, like, you don't have to have the ego and the negativity about it, but you can still be proud of your accomplishments, right? So
Actually, yes.
that's really cool. Awesome. Well, gosh, thank you so much, Violet. This has been amazing, and love having you on the show. And so, guys, definitely check out Violet Detre if you want to learn more. and so much fun. So, Violet, thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me. Have a great weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Thank you. And remember, stay awesome.